There's not a historical Adam and Eve or Noah, and almost definitely not a historical Abraham or Moses, and that is actually why you should read the Bible. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. This isn't just my opinion, by the way. This is the scholarly consensus amongst biblical scholars. And we start with Adam and Eve and Noah. That's part of this primeval prologue in the Old Testament. And those are just, there is absolutely no historical basis for those people ever existing. They weren't real people. And we're going to get to why that matters in just a second. When it comes to Abraham, it's pretty interesting. Abraham, again, not likely a historical figure. There is no archaeological or historical data to support that he was an actual person. And it's not uncommon for this, right? If you studied Roman mythology, you've heard of Romulus, right? Romulus is this prototypical founder of Rome, the ultimate ancestor for this people. That's who Abraham is. He is this figure that is the ancestor that they trace their lineage to and that helps them define who they are as a people, right? A people that are going to be blessed by their God to bless the whole world. So Moses is a little bit of a different case in that what scholars will say about Moses is this: he's this sort of legendary figure, of course, but there isn't any archaeological or historical evidence that he ever existed or the Exodus as it is depicted in the Bible ever exactly happened. Like it happened in the Bible, but that Moses is likely a composite character built up with a bunch of different legendary figures and maybe some different leaders that happened over a period of time. And they were all combined into this over-the-top, really important character that is a symbol of law and liberation and all kinds of really important core values to those people. And most likely, the people who were originally telling and reading these stories didn't think of these people as necessarily historical people, especially Adam and Eve and Noah and the people in that primeval prologue in the Old Testament. They didn't think of them as historical in this concrete 21st century way. They thought of them as figures, as legendary leaders, as peoples whose stories that they were telling were to tell them not who those people were, but who they were. So this is why this means that you should actually read the Bible, because a lot of people want to get hung up on the fact that these are not historical figures, even though when they read it, it sounds like history. But it's history in the way that some of these legends of Romulus were history. They were telling a story from the past to help define who these people were. And when you can let go of that fact and realize that those people weren't historical, and you don't have to look for them to be historical and all these accounts to be specifically accurate in terms of modern history, it allows you to read the Bible in the way that it's really intended to be read. When you understand that, you can begin to read the Bible the way it was intended to be read, right? It is not a modern historical textbook. It is a spiritual text. So when you are reading the Bible, you are not looking for history, you are looking for wisdom. And in the way that those people were listening to these stories and reading these stories, they weren't looking for the historical Moses or Noah or Adam. They weren't looking for that there. They weren't thinking of it in that way. They were looking for themselves there. They were looking to find who they were and answers to really big life questions that help guide you to be the best version of who you are. And that is why the Bible has shaped so many people for so many millennia, because the Bible contains ancient spiritual wisdom that if you access it, if you pay attention to it, and if you look for that in the Bible, that can change your life for the better. And so they aren't historical, and that is why you should read the Bible.